Hello and welcome. I'm Tom Darwood and I'm campaigning alone to be considered as the future Archbishop of Canterbury, the next Archbishop of Canterbury. And as you see from my display, I come not as Tom Darwood, but I'm dressed like this to project myself as a true 21st century Joseph 77, to emulate the biblical Joseph whom understood through divine grace and tuition what Pharaoh's two dreams meant, which, as I've explained in my previous talks, relative to where we are now, how can I speak to Britain, Europe and America? Because they comprise what we call the West. And the biblical Joseph helped not only Egypt, but also the surrounding nations, which to me must mean, firstly, I must speak to the British people first. With that, I can also go on to speak to Europe and the United States of America. So you see the juxtaposition that this dressing I have earned through my life of 78 years. Other talks will go into detail regarding how I came to become this particular figure. To put it very simply, if, say, my life had progressed to become a doctor or teacher, I will now become Tom Darwood, teacher of whatever. Geography is my favourite subject, or could be Dr. Thomas Darwood. Simple as that. But my life and events in my life endorse me as a true 21st century Joseph. Now let's get to the heart of what I'm trying to convey, which I hope will be helpful, inspirational, and make people think afresh. Whilst I was watching TV over the weekend, Michael Portillo, I think, is one of the finest cultural and political minds that we possess. We're very blessed with this character. He has a programme on TV, I forget what it's called now. Anyway, 5 subjects came up whilst I was watching him treat his guests. And there's 7 subjects that came out. And I said to myself, Tom, how can you address these 7 subjects, which are now in the front headlines of people? You want people to hear what you have to say, but you now have to make it relevant to people who want to think about what they want to think. So here, in order of progression, 7 items of debate came across, the banner, latest breaking news and all that kind of thing. So the first one was the Home Secretary decided to make a decision regarding the Southport's riots and the tragedy there. So that's the first thing, the first subject. The second subject was Elon Musk said to the German people via video, get over your past guilt. The third subject was the leader of the Conservative Party. She said, let's have a wider debate regarding integration. The fourth item which came up was a survey in which 20% of young people between 20 and 30 wanted the idea of an unelected but strong leader. That was very interesting. The fifth subject was China getting everything done. That was the headline, I think. But it related to her advancement of technology, where she could build railways, bridges, canals, whatever, at the lowest possible price. So she was in great competition, and also in China itself, fantastic. Our H2 project would look silly compared to what she's done. And we haven't even done H2 yet. But they've gone ahead and done hundreds of H2 projects across China. But China has one weakness that we can sell to her. And I'll tell you what that is. The sixth subject that came up, Michael Portillo was interviewing someone regarding the benefit of classical music. Well, in one of my talks, I go into detail how that is so important. I don't talk generally. I show exactly how the progression of classical music can inspire us in whatever field of life. Doesn't matter what field of life. It will inspire a progression, give you guidance to progress in whichever field of life we want to pursue. And finally, he suggested, let's have classical music played in churches. Well, I think that's been done many times, so that wasn't very original. However, what I think I can do is to program something, what I'm doing, juxtaposed to these subjects so we can debate them inside a church building, like a great cathedral. So outside of normal services, this is what I propose could be projected now in order to get us all involved. So the first subject I'm going to deal with, and this is just a cameo, I'm going to go through this like a crowfly, very short and succinct. So I want to address the Southport tragedy by creating a purpose for the 3 families who lost 3 beautiful children. I don't want to talk about the horrors of it in that sense. I want these children to be commemorated in the Arboretum that I propose, juxtaposed to Stonehenge. And I want those 3 children to be the first 3 names, and I would do my utmost to ensure that Elsie Sankum, B. King and Alice da Silva Aguiar are the first 3 names. And I will show you that I first visited Southport in the late 1960s. That's the only place I went to because God guided me there. So Thomas, I want to show you this place, how you come back. I didn't know then, I know now. The second time I went to Southport was in Pontin's holiday camp, which is now forbidden because it's such a terrible state. It was a cheap holiday between me and my friends, £40 for 4 nights. But the third time I went to Southport was 2 days before the King visited Southport. And I gave a lot of books and literature, hopefully, to get to those 3 families. So I won't go elaborate into that. But I do want to come to these 2 beautiful pictures. During the 17th century, the golden age of Dutch art defined everything regarding this picture of the colonial era and also of modernity. These 2 pictures depict what modernity is all about. So I'm going to use 2 words to describe these 2 pictures. Art, through the precision of those beautiful drawings. Why go to all that trouble to make a picture of still life? Because behind it, the creator is saying, I'm going to teach you how it is to create a culture which is based upon art and science, called modernity. And as I said, although it came through the white nations, this was divinely inspired because the Dutch has not continued with that great legacy that only happened once in human history. I don't believe there's any painter anywhere in the world who can compete with just one. I forgot this painter's name, but this painter produced hundreds to that quality. My favourite painting ever is by Vermeer. That depicts to me art, but art which encompasses culture and human behaviour. Why paint some poor maiden in the scullery doing a humble chore with such sublime beauty? He's even gone to the painting now with a shadow, if you go into details, And look at these two articles. They look so real. You need to go out and touch it. But I've written a passage regarding the beauty of this particular painting, which is admired by many, many painters. But Vermeer has exalted the humblest task you can think about, a maiden in a scullery doing a simple task, preparing a meal. But with such beauty, who in the world is that going to endorse? It is going to endorse the hand of Almighty God carrying out his duty towards us human beings, saying, I will show you how to progress through science and through art, through these paintings. So, and as I said, I want this arboretum, these three beautiful children, to be the first. As I said, the arboretum is firstly to make sure that this era is retained by all of us. The second is to ensure that people who died tragically out of the norm be the first to have a tree planted in their name, then named after themselves, after someone they admired with a Latin name, and finally with a hymn. So you collect, you endorse a person to retain this era in their name. So I want to now read to you the Southport Sonnet, which I've written in memory of that terrible tragedy. Now are the hearts of the bereaved rent asunder, bereft of love's continuous and joy's days. To the treasured vault of memory, upon a feast, upon the three who live forever young. Our eyes by mortal sorrows tempered, in every direction seizes upon unrest. The fury of violent ill intent lay waste the dignity of mourning. What shall become ownership of this paraded, in sight of all a nation there to see? By God's grace and wise discernment assembled, may find beyond the horizon, rich in hope. Our prayers by mortal labours honoured, devise some aspect of grace to rise above these ruins. And that is what I believe the Arboretum, juxtaposed to Stonehenge, can create the beginning, some aspect of grace, purpose to rise above the terrible ruins of what was a terrible tragedy in Southport. I don't want to think about all the laws that the government's going to make to stop people saying and doing bad things. I want to concentrate on the memory of these three beautiful children. I want their names to be remembered forever, because they represent these pictures, what we all love and adore, which is going to help us to progress in our own particular life. Now I want to read finally Stonehenge Sonnet to remind us of ourselves, to link it with this, hopefully, and I'm sure it will when people understand, why spend 6 million on some monument that has no real definitive expression of Britain's greatness? It's an utter waste of money. Give me £1 million and I'll begin this wonderful memorial. It's more than that, that's the wrong word. To begin to remember these three beautiful children. We've not concentrated on the memory of these three children and their families. We're talking about laws forbidding this, that and the other. Put that aside. I want these three beautiful girls to be remembered forever. So I want to read you the Stonehenge Sonnet. Of the works of antiquity laboured, few are surveyed with such mystique. Of no accord with modernity beholden, this ancient henge of stone. The living in droves by curiosity fed, all races converge from far afield, and find in risen pillars eluded a common ancestry in stone. No words of distinction composed can hope to weigh and quantify how these prehistoric marvels were moved to construct meaning now to us mystified. Our lives are a journey of learning of how things truly are. How did their lives endure such truths to live without? Now, let me move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next headline that was in the news. Elon Musk said on video, didn't go there to a German rally of the right. He said, get over your guilt regard, get over it, as if easy as that. Well, Mr. Musk, I have something to help the German people to get over. There is my booklet. I believe I can create a second arboretum in Halle, Germany, for the German people to help them to overcome the legacy of the Third Reich. You only have a loud megaphone, Mr. Musk. I have ideas to the small print. I'll face you in a debate and show us who has the real ideas, who can help the German people, and not that they need help, not in a patronising sense, but because a schoolgirl from Germany interviewed me in 2019 outside the Supreme Court. She went back to Germany and said to her class, they all agreed, said they loved and admired what I was doing. What I'm doing, ladies and gentlemen, can be created in a new arboretum, which does exactly what the Queen Elizabeth II Royal Arboretum does through my tuition course, to help us begin to understand that it was Almighty God who inspired science and art to help us to progress. Now, as I said, I campaign in poetry and in verse. So I'm now going to sing to you the German anthem which I've written, which describes perfectly, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what it is that I'm about. So I just want to show you that leaf close up. What the Third Reich did, they showed the devastating power of tyranny. And I don't believe the German people deserve such a legacy on their national life and history. They are too great a nation, far, far too great a nation. They brought Bach and Beethoven into this world, not to project German ideas, but to project universal ideas. And that is what I believe is encrypted in this German anthem. Progression from the stigma of the Third Reich, then the second verse to show freedom and liberty, but finally, they are to emulate the biblical Joseph, to whom God bestowed intelligence and understanding to create modernity. So I'm going to let the words speak for themselves. Deutschland, Deutschland, once to folly, scorn the contours of thy race. Oh, what a legacy of tortured memory, ever since it there remains. Now the time has come to exonerate this indictment of thy past. Deutschland, Deutschland, quench this nemesis rendered throughout thy fatherland. Deutschland, Deutschland, strive to prevail. Freedom and liberty, near and afar. Sorry, my eyes, I do. Where injustice cast its shadows, blaze a trail to hope inspired, swifter and stronger. Swifter and stronger, still yet higher, be our service in this cause. Deutschland, Deutschland, to the Father's land, give to the nations a message of peace. Deutschland, Deutschland, a vision glorious, worthy of universal praise. First in Eden, God imparted unto Adam to dress and to keep, with the gift of art and science, raised the nations from the earth. Deutschland, Deutschland, seen from highest bliss, be this noble servant acclaimed. I can help the German people to be that noble servant. And the Arboretum is the cultural equivalent of the Olympic Games. It's encrypted in the second verse in that line. Blaze a trail by hope inspired, swifter and stronger, still yet higher. Those are the three words which describe the wonderful Olympic Games. What the Arboretum in Stonehenge and Halle, Germany do is exactly the opposite, or compatible, but not about sport, but about art and science. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what these three girls can begin. I want to just concentrate on these three children. I want them to have a legacy. I want their families involved in this. So I'm calling upon the families. Contact me if you like this idea. I so want you to have, I know the children will never be forgot from your own perspective, but they came into the nation's consciousness. That is what is important. And we can share our trials. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get over this. Why hurt such beautiful little children? So, I'll quickly proceed now to the last three subjects before my tape runs out. The third item that came back was the leader of the Conservative Party said, let's have a greater debate about integration. Well, I'm not going to debate integration. As I said to you before, ladies and gentlemen, I campaign through poetry, through sonnets, anthems and hymns. Now I'm now going to sing to you, well, Blessed Be Our Nation, because it describes everything that we want to achieve, not through debates, more debates. This is where, ladies and gentlemen, I have something, should I say, different to offer outside of the comfort zone of politics and all other things. So I'm going to sing you Blessed Be Our Nation, because that summarises everything regarding integration. The first verse is our past. We want to integrate it in a way which doesn't make us feel uncomfortable. The second, to remember the injustice. Colonialism was the most powerful force the world has ever known, Unfortunately, it was also associated with the most detrimental force, and slavery was not just confined to the white nations, there was slavery throughout the world. The third verse is the most important of all. Gathered from earth's bounty shall thy works extend. Someone thought I meant bounty of the earth's resources, gold, mine, aluminium, etc. No, I said, you idiot. I mean people. Gathered from earth's bounty means the diversity of people which I can help to overcome the sense that colonialism put us in a difficult position. No, it didn't. That is where we need to learn the lessons from in order to progress in every field of life. So I'll sing it again. Blessed be our nation, wrought by heaven's decree. I'll just sing what first verse of each line. Once in the beginning, Adam and Eve gave birth. And the last verse, Spirit of our fathers, lend thy grace herein. I've sang this hymn. Someone did describe it as a hymn. A beautiful woman who works in a charity shop in Leeds. When I showed her, I said, what do you think of this? And when she was standing the other side of the shop, she said, that's very beautiful. He says, it's like a hymn. And I'm so pleased that she said it and not I, because that's exactly what I hoped will be how people can look upon this anthem. It is both the anthem and a hymn. The last two subject was strong leader. Well, here I am, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not the strong leader that the poll was thinking about, people between 20 and 30. I think they're thinking about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I am a strong leader, but not in that manly sense. My strength is in my ideas regarding the past 500 years, which created modernity. So I have a message, and the last item, the fifth item, was China gets everything done. I'm afraid China, when she sees what I'm doing, will want this tuition course. I'll guarantee you that. Their wealthy people are buying out all these beautiful paintings. They'll probably have enough money to buy all the paintings, but we don't want that to happen. What I can do is teach the Chinese people how possibly one day to create paintings of this stature. That is a monumental task. But what China hasn't got is the cultural infrastructure in her society which matches the scientific infrastructure, which she clearly demonstrates fantastic mobility and ability to sell across the world. My sister watches many programs in China. She showed me, said, "Oh, look at this town, look at this shopping mall. Isn't it beautiful?" I said, "Yes, but dear, where are the people? All these malls, they're never visited because they haven't got the culture. They merely mimic Western culture, and it is mimicry. It is not a rebirth. I create a rebirth, and this is going to be a huge commodity to sell to China." So every young people will be interested in my tuition course because it is eventually going to help them to become tutors to China, throughout China, because God had it in mind that the art, so the science and the art go together. What China has at the moment is constructional mobility and ability through science. What she has not got is the culture that goes with it. Now, the last thing was the beauty of classical music. Well, you have to look at one of my videos where I go into detail to show how classical music can help us to progress so that we can express ourselves in manifold ways. And lastly, Michael probably says, let's have this music played in church. Well, you're a little bit slow there, Michael, but I'd say this has been going on for a lot of time thanks to the church allowing free recital, usually during lunchtime. You go to any church, it's completely free. They play beautiful music. The church does have some wonderful choirs and the love of classical music. And I believe all these things can be addressed in these two arboretums. They will expound on all these 7 subjects. So ladies and gentlemen, may I leave for you to concentrate on these 3 lovely girls who are behind me. And I hope the 3 parents can get to this video and step forward and say, Tom, tell us more. I'll be very happy to. Thank you.